Welcome back to iHeart Communities. I'm Ambie Renee, and today I have two special guests. I have Dr. Anyssa Reddix, and I have Anyssa, both from Envision Lead Grow. We'll call it ELG for the purpose of because I feel like we're going to say the name a lot.
Yes.
So we'll call it ELG for the purpose of the interview. But how are you ladies?
Fantastic. So happy to be here with you.
Definitely happy to have you both here.
Doing great. Really glad to talk to you this morning.
Of course. So tell me, Dr. Reddix, about Envision Lead Grow.
Oh, I'd love to. Envision Lead Grow is my nonprofit arm and my passion project, quite honestly, to transform communities of poverty into communities of power. And our goal is by 2020 to have 1,000 middle school girls in the pipeline to be entrepreneurs. This was birthed out of my past experience as an entrepreneur. I have 12 years experience with Reddix, which is a healthcare management consulting firm. We do work with the federal government. But it really came out of, even prior to becoming an entrepreneur, it really came to me from my background of being born in public housing. Having a mother who was a teenage mother, being raised by my grandmother and my extended family, going through what you go through, based on all of that, and knowing that how you come into this world doesn't have to be how you enter your career, nor does it have to be how you end. Right. And so in working on my PhD, my area of interest was entrepreneurship and how do we work with those communities that have high levels of poverty, increase job opportunities through small businesses, and then transform those communities into communities of power.
I love that. I love how you took your past and you used it for something better, and
Absolutely.
Then to help our community and to
Absolutely.
help young ladies. I feel like that is very necessary,
Absolutely.
especially when you said that middle school young ladies at that. Like, we got to catch them young.
Yeah, middle school is definitely those years where you can make one decision and you end up going through door A or door B.
Yes.
And what we want to do is put before the girls opportunities. I always say, by going out to all the communities, I hope to become the new shiny object. So this is what's attracting their attention. And what attracts their attention is to know your past and to know, oh my goodness, on paper, that would look like, okay, you're not going to end where you are today. But I am so proud to say that, through Reddix, I've been able to provide income for hundreds of families because of my phenomenal associates, the employees within our organization. And so I say to myself, I was that little girl. So if each of these little girls that we work with, if they're able to innovate and create an organization that can employ over 100 individuals, imagine what we can do in this nation around employment opportunities and around income for those in different metropolitan areas and rural communities. The power of one little girl can do that. And so we started this program back in 2016. We had our first cohort, which was through Kempsville Entrepreneur Academy in Virginia Beach. And that was our pilot, and we had 20 girls. By that second year, we launched the full program that we validated through the beta test that we had in Kempsville. And we had 414 girls in the program that first full year. Added another 250 this year. In 2019, our target is 600 girls in 30 different cities, so that by 2020, we have 1,000 girls in the program across 48 states within the United States.
Wow. It means a lot to me because right now I'm actually going around to all the schools in Hampton Roads and I'm talking to the young women and the young ladies. And I was at Norfolk State. I went to Coleman Place Elementary School. Now I'll be at Warwick High School next week, Norview High School the week after that. I'm literally going high school, middle school, elementary school. These are the years when they are easily influenced.
Absolutely.
So why not influence them in a positive way?
That's right. And, we have been very intentional about the stages of the program, but also who's involved on the leadership team in the program. And so that's where Anyssa comes into play. Anyssa, she's the program manager. So day in and day out, she's working with the girls and she is the role model for the girls. Yeah. What I recognize is, I'm an old lady, so to speak, in their eyes. You know what I mean? So they have to have someone that's closer to not necessarily their age, but what they see that they can attain sooner.
Yes.
And so Anyssa and her team do a phenomenal job of making the program very relevant.
I believe it. Anyssa, let's talk to you for a second. So, program director?
Program manager.
Program manager. That sounds like a big role.
It is. It's a big responsibility. Definitely, I design the curriculum and all of the different aspects of our program. So our girls go through 4 different parts of our program. It begins with our summer immersion camp, which is a week-long sleepaway camp at Old Dominion University, where they're introduced to entrepreneurial skill sets. We teach them how to turn their passions into the profitable venture, and we use the skills that Dr. Angela learned in her success in business. Once camp is over, the girls are placed with local female women who serve as their mentors throughout the school year. They work with them to keep them focused on their business endeavors, make sure they're staying engaged with the program. Once a month, all the girls from all the different cities get on a webinar call with me. We talk about their highs, their lows, things they're struggling with, and how can we collaborate to get through those issues and make sure their business is moving forward. And then lastly, we monitor their engagement throughout the year. Those that are the most involved and stay focused on their business are invited to an all-expense paid weekend in Washington, D.C., where they work with Fortune 500 female executives as well as successful female entrepreneurs. They're talking about very high depth, important information for when you're really launching a business, such as startup legal matters, venture capitalism, looking into real estate if you're interested in a brick and mortar business. So these girls are really going from day one to a full year of seeing what happens when they dedicate themselves to a project. Once the girls are in the program, they're in it until they graduate high school, and all of those different aspects I'm responsible for planning, implementing the curriculum design, making it happen in general. So yes, a big responsibility.
Busy woman. How did you get involved?
So if it's not known, Dr. Angela is my mother. And so when she began the pilot program, one of my biggest passions is working with kids, especially young women. That's something that I've always loved. And so when she put together the pilot program, it was just natural that I worked with her on it. I just graduated from the University of North Carolina in May. So when I went back to school and we were trying to figure out what the next thing to do is, the 7-city tour, which we executed in 2017, was born, and it just once again was natural that I would work on it. And once I completed that, I knew that working with Envision Lead Grow was my calling and my purpose, and definitely when I feel the most invigorated and like I'm doing the work I'm supposed to be doing when I'm working with these girls. So it wasn't a question when I graduated. This is what I wanted to do full time.
Of course, and I had no idea that you were her daughter. That's
Absolutely.
I love that even more, because just thinking about your background and why you got started, and you brought your daughter with you.
Anyssa somewhat undersells why she is the one for this program. Anyssa was she was poised for this position, and I say that, number one, she is an entrepreneur. So Anyssa, at the age of 14, published her first book. And when I mean book, I don't mean a little 5-pager. This is a 200 and I believe 20-page novel called The Magic of Friendship. You all listeners, you can go on Amazon.com and still purchase that.
Please do.
Anyssa, at a very young age, she followed me everywhere. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So from the very beginning of time, I've always had a business of some sort. Now, I always, in my profession, I was able to move along and move up in corporate America, mainly because I would say the entrepreneurial mindset. I quickly understood the importance of finding a problem in the corporation or for the person I reported to and determining how to solve that problem, because I always knew that if I could help them solve their problem, then they would be an advocate for me, and then they would help me go where I wanted to go. So I was always the youngest in the room at the table. I was always one of the few women at the table, and certainly one of the few minorities at the table. And so when I launched Reddix back in 2006, by that time I'd run major divisions for large corporations like Lockheed Martin, Aspen Systems. I'd been with Bell Atlantic, etc. So I had great experience from learning within a corporation. The second thing, I have always loved learning. So I know that education plus experience, that's when you really can command whatever you like to command. Right. But Anyssa was my first. We have 3 children. My husband and I celebrate 25 years of marriage in April.
Wow, congratulations.
And thank you. And I accept that. Thank you. Because, it don't just happen. You don't just wake up like that. Right. So, but Anyssa was our first of 3 children. And there is an 8-year difference between Anyssa and her next sibling. So she was the only child for many years, and we lived in the Maryland area. And so Anyssa was in the office with me from a very young age. My husband and I, when we launched, again, my mindset is always on solving a problem. So when she was born back then, there wasn't a lot of information out there for African American parenting. And so we launched a parenting magazine for African Americans, and we had a huge following and 50,000 in circulation as soon as we launched, etc. Anyssa, from the very early age, she was around helping us with the magazine. She was in the office with me with my full-time job, and she would make these bookmarks, and she's 4 years old, and she's going door to door selling these bookmarks to people. And so she has had that mindset, which is exactly what we're trying to plant the seeds with these young ladies. That's number one. Number two, she became an entrepreneur as she published her book. And she published a book, again, because of a problem. She was dealing with, bullying and, young girls with cliques and all that you go through. Yeah. And so I asked her, you love writing, put that in, just write. And if you continue to write, I'll support you in publishing your book. So she published the book and then was able to go out on a book tour, and she did graduation ceremonies and all kinds of things from that at a very young age. Then did well in school and went off to Chapel Hill, to one of the top business schools in the nation, and she graduated. And so she is definitely the picture of what we're trying to create with the girls. Mm-hmm. And not only does Anyssa run the program for the girls, but she also helps the parents who are a part of our stakeholder group to understand how to communicate with their daughters. And so I believe that she really is the secret to the success of the program. So day in and day out, she works directly with the program. And Anyssa went over the 4 components of the program. But what's so beautiful about ELG is that we're just not teaching it. They're actually doing it. Mm-hmm. So in our first cohort, 76% of our girls now own official businesses. They actually have sold at least $1,000 worth of goods and services in 1 year. And so it's such a compelling story. And when people see these girls, they want to invest. So we've been able to form a group of women business owners who've actually put money together to take these girls to be able to have their products distributed at a wider audience. And so there's funding, which is typically an issue for entrepreneurs. You can't find funding. Well, we now have capital for what we call the talent management group. So those who have viable products, we have those who are investing to take their products and be able to distribute it wide scale.
Wow. That is amazing. And I know that we talked a little about, middle school young. So how are you recruiting these young ladies?
We are trying to refine that process. I will tell you what we have been doing is trying to connect with the school systems. Okay. We connect through churches. If there are any listeners out there, this costs the girls and the families $0. So it is definitely a program of substance, and we typically have open seats each time. Okay. Our goal is we've targeted each of the cities with the highest level of poverty. So in our first year, we were in Atlanta, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Greensboro, North Carolina, Memphis, Tennessee, Richmond, Virginia, and Norfolk, because Norfolk is home. But of those locations, Memphis, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Baltimore, Maryland are all among the top 25 cities with the highest level of childhood poverty. Mm-hmm. So we're very specific about where we start. Mm-hmm. I mean, where we have as the eye or the branch location. But just as we're in Norfolk, Virginia, if we're targeting Norfolk, there we have girls from Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And that's a great thing because it's so important to have diversity of thought. So it is not a requirement that you're a certain income level to be in the program. That's not a requirement. But our goal is to shore up the entrepreneurial ecosystem around those cities where there's high level of poverty. So I mentioned by 2020, we'll be in 48 states. And our targets, again, we're looking at within each state, what is the city with the highest level of childhood poverty?
Okay. And what we know to be true is even if these girls who are attending our program aren't living in a zip code that is exactly under the poverty level, that when you're living in these communities, you're already shaped and impacted by what you see. So, for example, when we went to Memphis, the first city in the 7-city bus tour, those girls already have been conditioned to believe that Memphis is not a place where you can be successful. They're 11 years old and they're saying, if I want to be successful, if I want to make anything of my life, I have to leave Memphis. That's what they're saying on day one. And so trying to teach them that not only can you break the mold of your family and potentially break the cycle of poverty for your family, you can also be the change maker for your city. And so whether you're actually living under that income bracket or what your exact situation is, a lot of these girls are being conditioned by their environments. And so by securing the entrepreneurial ecosystem in those cities, we're teaching them, no, you can be the change here, wherever you are.
And this, I think you hit it on the head because I say that a lot. Like, I hear a lot that there are no opportunities in Norfolk.
Absolutely.
We got to create our own.
That's right.
Just because you don't see other people out here in all these different opportunities. I feel like there's a lot, like Norfolk has a lot of hidden gems, one. And even if it didn't, we can still make our own.
That's right.
But I do have a question because I know that, so it sounds like we're working with a lot of like 11 to 14.
Yes.
So what if I'm older than 14?
Well, we are always looking for adults and women to get involved with our program while we target girls when they are entering middle school to completing middle school. There are other opportunities as far as junior counselors for high school girls, counselors for young ladies who are in college, and then mentors for women who are in college and above who can work with the girls, as well as investors, angel investors, partnerships in all forms and capacities.
I love that. So there's room for everyone.
Absolutely.
Like, even if I'm not, between those ages, I can still help and be involved in some capacity. Okay, that's amazing. Now, if you're just tuning in, we're almost towards the end of the interview, surprisingly, but this is a great interview. I am here with Envision Lead Grow. So I have Dr. Angela Reddix and Anyssa, the program manager here. So Dr. Reddix, could you tell us a little bit about Envision Lead Grow, what it is, how it got started?
Yes, Envision Lead Grow is a nonprofit. It is a movement, quite honestly. It's a movement to build the pipeline of future entrepreneurs by reaching 1,000 middle school girls by 2020 and introducing them to entrepreneurship through a 4-pronged program. The first prong is the entrepreneur immersion, which is 40 hours of education and training on entrepreneurship. The second component is mentoring, where the girls continue to build based on their business plan that they create during the 40 hours. They meet with their mentor in a team mentoring concept. So it's 3 girls per mentor. And that mentor is specific to that city. So this program is nationwide. However, the mentor who works with them throughout the month and the year lives in their local city. The third component is the continuous learning through monthly webinars where all the girls across all the cities are conducting their business via webinars. It's the cutest thing, seeing them on the web, and they're asking questions, and they're helping their other other participants work through some of their problems. And then the fourth component is the Entrepreneurship Institute, which is in Washington, D.C. Every year, where the girls who are the top performers are invited to an all-expense paid trip to D.C. for 2.5 days, where they spend 2 days with Fortune 100, Fortune 500 female executives and successful entrepreneurs. On the third day of that program, we open the doors to the community, and they actually come in and buy goods and services from the girls, and they pitch over and over again. We believe pitching over and over again takes it from being just a script, so to speak, to making it a reality, and helps them to connect with the community.
How did you come up with the name Envision Lead Grow?
So the curriculum that I've developed is called the 8 Seeds of Success. And one of the things that I have found to keep me sane in building my business over the last 12 years has been journaling. And so the curriculum comes from the 8 themes that I was able to pull out of all of that data from 12 years ago to today, or to when we started the program. So that's become the 8 C's of success. 3 things that I would tell you are keys to entrepreneurs or entrepreneurship. And really, I would say being successful as an intrapreneur or building within someone else's business is the ability to see what your end game needs to be. Being able to start with the end in mind, and that is envision. You've got to have a vision, and you have to be able to see that vision. Lead is important because oftentimes, people want to say why they can't do something because someone else didn't tell them something to do, et cetera, et cetera. And we've got to lead ourselves. We have to encourage ourselves, and we have to lead ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't matter where you sit on the org chart. Doesn't matter. We have to be very clear about who we are, where we're trying to go, and what we're willing to do to get there, and lead ourselves through that path. Leading yourself also means that you connect with the right people who may be a mentor or a supporter, but you have to be responsible and accountable to yourself first before you can be successful for anyone else. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing is I believe so strongly in grow where you're planted. And that's the grow part. We spend so much time thinking about when this situation changes, then I'll be better. Or when this tomorrow, I'll be better. Well, we have to be aware that there's opportunities for us to grow wherever we're planted today. We can't get today back. Right. So the gift to ourselves is that we're observant of good and bad. We learn from both good things and things that don't feel so great. But grow where you're planted, because ultimately you can use those skills for wherever you go. I use every day in running Reddix and Envision Lead Grow. I use things from my very first position out of college. Never forget it. And so I continue to build and learn and grow, but always with a vision of where I see myself in the end. So that is Envision Lead Grow.
Wow, that's amazing. And Anyssa, I know it's a lot that you do, but could we run through it one more time for the listeners who didn't hear it?
Absolutely. So all of the different components of the program that Dr. Angela ran through, our summer immersion program, our mentoring, our monthly webinars, and our institute, all of those fall under my planning and my execution as far as designing the curriculum, ensuring that we are adhering to the 8 C's of success, and making sure the girls are growing with their business. So a lot of that is checking in with the parents, checking in with the mentors, reaching out to the girls, seeing what help and support they need, reaching out to different people in the branch cities we're in to find other sources of support for the girls, planning the camp a year ahead of time. We have our annual fundraiser, Young Girls Rule, which everyone can save the date for in March. It's going to be a great brunch event. So planning that's our big fundraiser for the year, working with our board, with Dr. Angela and all of our other supporters, putting together corporate sponsorships, making sure that we're able to have all the resources we need to keep the program going.
Amazing. And what made you get involved?
Envision Lead Grow is definitely a passion project for me as well. Seeing these young women succeed is one of the biggest priorities in my life. So working with Dr. Ange, my mother, and being able to see all the good she's able to do for the community through her experience, finding ways to use my own to also give back and plant these seeds is important.
Yeah. And so the goal is 1,000 young ladies by 2020.
1,000 girl bosses.
Yes, 1,000 young girl bosses. Just
young girl bosses.
Shaking things up, making things happen in their communities.
And where are we at right now?
We, so 415, or 414 the first year, 250 this year. And again, as they age, some of them choose to, get involved with sports, etc. So our goal is to keep the girls through, graduation. And so it's a new program. So we're modifying a few things so that we can make sure that they feel like there's a place for them as they age into high school. So ultimately, we want 1,000 girls who are going completely through high school. This is a study. I mentioned that this came out of my PhD study, and it's a dissertation. And so what we know to be true, I pulled data for what I call the Tale of Two Cities, Flower Mound, Texas, and Camden, New Jersey. Flower Mound, Texas, the poverty level is 2.3%. Camden, New Jersey, the poverty level, and this is 2014 data, 42.6%. The social economic factors that play into that is just astounding, the difference. The high school education level for Flower Mound is 97.1%. However, in Camden, it was 67.5%. Teen pregnancies in Flower Mound, 27%. Camden, or 27 teen pregnancies in Flower Mound. Camden, New Jersey, 342%. Oh, wow. Drastic difference. New businesses, number of new businesses in Flower Mound, 121 new businesses that year. In Camden, only 6. So what this tells me is if we can increase the number of businesses, we make it a viable community, a community that there are job opportunities, a community that we can focus on other things that other than those that distract us from success. So our goal is to ensure that these girls see the end game that they can envision based on their passion, that we're able to help them translate that passion into profit. And then the second thing is that we can decrease teen pregnancies and increase high school graduation rates, because that's a direct impact on the poverty level in that community.
Wow. So for the parents that are listening,
yes,
that want their young girl bosses to get involved, how can they reach you?
So all of the information regarding our program is on our website, envisionleadgrow.org. They can also follow us on social media. We love Instagram at Envision Lead Grow, and we're also on Facebook at Envision Lead Grow, and on Twitter, Envision Lead Grow without the W. The applications and the information will be up in this month of November. But they can also reach out to us. Our contact information is on there for myself, Anyssa, as well as our stakeholder manager, and they can email either of us to find out more about how to get involved this upcoming summer.
Perfect. Well, ladies, I really appreciate you coming. This was an amazing
you.
interview full of great information. I'm glad to hear that you all are out catching our young girl bosses at such young ages. That's amazing because, again, this is when they are easily influenced and you are leading them in the right direction. So,
well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
I
you
would
so much.
love for the listeners to take a look at some of the things we're doing behind the scenes. You can follow me on Instagram at I am Dr. Ange Reddix, Reddix. And also, Anyssa and I host a podcast. And the purpose of this is to get parents to talk to their girls. Anyssa and I have a very interesting relationship. We have guests. You mentioned their nuggets right here in Hampton Roads. Well, we interview female entrepreneurs right here in the Hampton Roads area to inspire young girls and women of all ages. And so it is Power in Pajamas. Please go to SoundCloud and you can download Power in Pajamas, subscribe to us, and you'll get to know a little bit about the chemistry and what makes the magic for Envision Lead Grow behind the scenes. And so we hope that you'll join our community. If you're a listener and perhaps you're interested in being an angel investor, we have a wonderful program where you're assigned a girl and you track that girl throughout the year. We provide that information. If you'd like to be a mentor, please connect with us, or if you're interested in being on the board, we're always looking for those who'd like to be a part of our community.
Perfect. And I'll actually put that SoundCloud link in the name of your podcast on our website.
Excellent.
So you can find it in there. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for coming. Thank you all for listening to iHeart Communities, and I'll see you next week.